Well, welcome to INFPeople. My name is Derek, and I'll be, your host while we're on this channel. So this is another MBTI related channel. It'll be, I'm calling it INFPeople, but it won't only be about INFPs, though it will be from an INFP perspective because I myself am an INFP. So I might have to pause a few times because the road is really loud. I'm living in a small town in the Philippines right now, so there's a lot of really loud motorbikes going around all the time. So I might have to pause and cut those out, but don't worry about it. Uh, so yeah. Anyway, so this is an MBTI channel, but it's from an INFP perspective. One of the main things I've learned through studying the MBTI is that every person sees the world or perceives reality through their own lens, based on their functions, based on their personalities. So any perspective you see, it's going to be from that person's personality's perspective. So I can't separate myself from my introverted feeling or my extroverted intuition. I can't see any other way than as an INFP. So though this channel will be about the MBTI in general, it's from an INFP perspective. One of the I don't know if it's a pet peeve, but one of the things that sorry, all the noise. This isn't really an ideal space right now. I'm home with my son. I'm on my balcony, and he's playing outside with his little friends downstairs. But I just feel particularly inspired, and I don't know if I'll end up making one of these videos if I don't follow this inspiration, because as INFPs, we create with our when we feel inspired and when we're not inspired. It's kind of hard to it's hard for me at least to do things that when I'm not feeling that inspiration. So first, I want to talk about a little bit about what inspired me to make this channel in the first place. So I've been interested in personality type for a long time, mostly the MBTI, but also the Enneagram and Big Five and other things. But I never felt like, and I've been wanting to make a YouTube channel also, and that's probably this is one of the main things I talk about with people or that I'm into. So this is like a kind of a no-brainer that if I'm going to make a YouTube channel, this would be one of the things that I would talk about. But I always felt like what did I have to add to everything? So I don't see myself going through and doing a bunch of research on a specific type, the way a Michael Pierce does, and then presenting all that information to people. And then and I also don't have some creative idea or creative metaphor the way Geek Psychology does. I love that channel, the way he talks about it through a video game, because I'm into that kind of stuff too. So you'll hear me talk about stuff like that, but I don't I didn't have an idea like that, or I don't have a bunch of acquaintances where I'm going to interview people the way a Denzel Mensa does. So I was just like, well, what can I add to this? And I found this channel, Lex Morningstar, and her channel is INFP centric, and she just she has a good understanding of what an INFP is and the MBTI in general, but it's kind of about her own personal experiences. And I was just thinking well, that's something that everybody has to offer, is their own personal point of view, their own perspective. So this channel is about MBTI, but just from the way I see it, or the way an INFP might see it, or just even me as an individual, the way I see things in the world. So I planned on talking about a little bit about introverted feeling, because I feel like it's pretty misunderstood as a cognitive function. I don't know if I will do videos about each function. There's lots of content out there that just talks about the functions, and there's plenty of writing on each of the functions and plenty of videos on each one. So I think I'll just talk more about how these functions manifest in me as a person or in my life. And I wanted to talk about how introverted feeling is sort of misunderstood, which is probably why INFPs and ISFPs also usually feel misunderstood. I think the introverted functions in general are not very well understood, and introversion in general in our society isn't very well understood. But so when it comes to introverted feeling, I feel like a lot of people, when they talk about it, especially people who are not introverted feelers themselves, when they talk about introverted feeling, they don't really, I don't know, they don't really get to exactly what it is, and I don't know if you can really get to what it is in words, because it's something that I'm not abstract, but it's just something that you have to experience, sort of, to understand. Um, yeah, but I was planning on talking about how we use this word like emotional often when we talk about MBTI. When we talk about feeling types, we'll say like, "Oh yeah, this type is emotional," and this and that. And I was gonna talk about the distinction between feelings and emotions. Like, emotions are fleeting. They're something that can bubble up and they can be gone in an instant, or they can rise up in an instant and be gone the next. A feeling is something that it's more, not necessarily permanent, but it's more real, and it's longer lasting. Like the way I feel about, say, my son is not going to change, because that's that feeling in my inside me. But I can have plenty of emotions about how he is at a certain time. I can be like upset with him or very happy with him, but these are just little fleeting emotions. And I was going to talk about how I don't feel like I'm an emotional person, uh, because I'm usually I pretty much have a handle on my emotions in most instances. Uh, and then today, I was out here thinking about making this video, and I heard some of the kids downstairs talking, like basically bullying my son, making fun of him and calling him names and stuff. And I never liked bullying. I've always stood up for people that got bullied, even when I was in school, when I was young. And like right now, I'm in sort of not really like a bad situation, but we live in the Philippines. My son is half Filipino, my wife is Filipino, and so I'm always worried about like him. I'm extra worried about him being bullied because he's different. Like he has curly hair, but people here are really nice in general, and like they're just interested. Like, oh, what's going on with your kid's hair? Like, is that real? Or what is that? Can I touch it? Sort of like, and that happened in the States too, but so yeah, so I'm always like wary of him being picked on. And so I heard that outside, and there's like a fire in my chest. I ran downstairs, and like, I wouldn't say I went off on these kids, but I like gave him, like, I was very stern with them, like, hey, don't let me ever hear you talking to my kid like that again. Like, I'll be talking to their parents, whoever they are, like, and yeah, so I'm not a confrontational person, and in general, unless like, it's typical for INFPs, unless one of my ruling principles is stepped on, like one of my ideals. And of course, my child is the most important thing to me. So when he was in that bad situation, it was just like it was an emotional outburst, basically. And I was just like, I was thinking, man, I was just gonna talk about how I'm not an emotional person, but my emotions can, I guess, take over sometimes. I was just thinking, like, it's like the Hulk is like, you know, you wouldn't like me when I'm angry. And that's how I am when I have an angry, when I get really upset, which is, it's rare, but even better now, because I don't think this trainer is anything close to an INFP. Yeah, I'm not sure what he is, but he's not an INFP, I don't think. But a better analogy is Naruto. If you watch anime, I love Naruto is one of my favorite shows, series that I've ever seen. So yeah, the title character Naruto has this demon fox inside him, and the whole premise of the show is sort of like what he went through because he has this thing inside of him, and so basically it's trying to escape all the time, and it wants to get out, and the only way it can get out, there's like these blocks on it, seals on it, but the only way it can get out is if Naruto is in like an extreme emotional state. So if he's like extremely angry, for example, then the fox it doesn't get out, but it can consume him sort of, or take over, and it will be the one that's kind of in charge of his body. So it will sort of take over him, and he doesn't have any control anymore. And that's the way I kind of feel when I'm really upset. Like, it's just whatever it is that's upsetting me, I need to take care of it, and that emotional side just kind of leads me there, just does what it wants to do. And before, I used to think of this as more of an analogy of introverted feeling, like this deep well of feeling, and something happens, and then the feeling from inside comes out or something. But I think a more apt analogy is that it is this thing inside is like extroverted thinking, the inferior function of an INFP or ISFP, and it's just like saying, hey, you're always calm, you're always relaxed, laid back. Not that you take other people's, like, not that you get messed with or anything necessarily, but you just kind of let things slide that aren't really a big deal, and then eventually all the emotions inside bubble to the surface, and that beast, that nine-tailed fox, comes out, and that's the extroverted thinking. Like, hey, that's enough. We're putting our foot down, and we are going to make a difference in your surroundings. So that's something that I always, as an INFP, since I'm not very good at using my extroverted thinking. I make a conscious effort to not step on toes, or to try to like not affect things around me, because I don't like it when other people try to affect me, like what I'm doing. So I don't want to do that to other people. But when something happens, when like one of those rules and principles gets stepped on, or somebody messes with me or my family, then it's like that's when the demon fox comes out, and that's when that extroverted thinking is like, wait a second, we are going to have an effect on people. We are going to have to tell people, hey, you cannot do that, or you can't treat this person that way, or you're not going to step on this ideal of mine, or like what I believe in, or whatever it is. That was sort of a revelation that I had today when I was going to make a video centered on how I'm not actually emotional, but I guess I am in a way when pushed to the limits I can be. But I guess anybody can become emotional under the right circumstances. But yeah. So this channel is going to be about the MBTI, but I guess it's going to be more INFP centered. So yeah, but we'll see.